Growing up, I was exposed to all kinds of puppet shows. With shows like Sesame Street, Between the Lions, and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, my childhood was definitely influenced by the morals and values being taught. It goes without saying, puppet shows hold a sincere place in my heart. However, like a lot of pieces of media, they somehow fall between the cracks and become lost. Today, I thought I'd go ahead and take a look at some of the lost puppetry that is missing from the media. That ranges from broadcasts to pilot episodes to whatever the heck this thing is. So, with that being said, sit back, relax, grab a snack, maybe drink some water if you haven't already, and get cozy, because today we're talking about 10 missing pieces of puppetry media. Number 10. Ariel City 008. Wow, so this looks terrifying. Ariel City 008 was a Japanese TV show that aired on NHK from April 7th, 1969 to April 3rd, 1970. So close to a year. So close. The plot was pretty unique. The world is set in the futuristic 21st century in a floating city with flying cars and no pollution. So their ideal 21st century is just a tad off from what the actual 21st century is like. So the whole thing is just science doing future stuff, and it makes the plots using that. Our series follows the perspective of the O'Hara family living in the Ariel City. Honestly, the whole thing gives me Jetsons vibes, floating city, flying cars, funny science. It honestly matches pretty well. The only available episode is a little bit over 30 minutes, and man, does it look weird. Honestly, I love it when puppet shows go for those uniquely weird designs, but the lighting in this honestly doesn't help. Feels like I'm a prisoner at some sort of weird liminal space. There is only one available episode online, that being the episode Arctic SOS. The reasoning behind it being the only one available is that NHK had terrible archival of their programming. To put the icing on the cake, tapes were immediately wiped after syndication, a common practice of this time to reuse tapes for further broadcasting. So with the scarcity of recordings and the completely wiped tapes, where did this episode come from? Well, at one point there was a DVD that contained the episode, however, it is no longer being produced. So one episode is available. Cool, we have some starting ground. How many episodes were made in total, you ask? Well, 230. Yeah. Honestly, unless by any chance that there are other home media releases of Ariel City 008, or any bootleg VHS recordings for that matter, it's unlikely that this series will ever resurface. Number 9. 2007 Muppets Pilot Presentation. The Muppets are iconic when you think about puppetry. Yet again, that applies to everything Jim Henson created. In the early 2000s, a new Muppet show was pitched to Fox called The Muppets Present. However, it never aired. Due to the cancellation of the 2000s pitch, many avenues for future Muppets media were explored, one of those being a cancelled 2007 pilot pitch for a new Muppet series. From what's known about the pilot pitch, it was 10 minutes long and was made to be like a mockumentary following Kermit the Frog and the private lives of the Muppets, which Disney absolutely hated. It was written by Bill Prady, who had previous experience working on the Muppets. Now, as a fan of the Muppets, I'll take any Muppet media I can get. Heck, I pretty much lost my marbles when Kermit was on The Masked Singer. Spoilers for that, by the way. So apparently this thing was awful, like really bad by Disney standards at least, because in a Bloomberg interview with Bill Prady from 2015, he says that he was literally told to destroy every copy he had. Whether or not he actually did so is unknown. Nobody really knows where this pilot pitch is. If Prady didn't destroy his copy, then it would most likely be with him. Otherwise, it's probably with Disney somewhere hidden away, maybe just hidden away on some old flash drive. However, if Disney wanted the copies destroyed, they're likely to have gone through with that. The whole thing is just a massive mystery all on its own, but nonetheless, still intriguing. Number 8. Out to Lunch, Sesame Street and Electric Company crossover. We can't have a puppet video without talking about Sesame Street in one form or another. Crossovers have always been a part of media, and on December 10th, 1974, fans of both Sesame Street and the Electric Company were treated as such. Out to Lunch, as it was called, featured the cast of both shows as well as various guest stars like Carol Burnett. The special was an hour long and actually had a pretty cool plot. The whole thing was that ABC, the channel that it aired on, was missing their newscasters as they had all gone out to lunch, hence the title. So because of their absence, the cast had to fill up that spot of programming, and yeah, comedy ensues. There was never an official home media release like a VHS or DVD or whatever, and it's generally unknown if anyone has had some sort of bootleg copy, as it aired in a time when VCRs were incredibly rare. What's interesting to me, however, is what's been found of the special. There have been various screenshots of the crossover that are available on the Muppet fandom page. There are claims that clips of the special used to be on YouTube back in the day, circa 2005 or 2006, but they're no longer around. There was also an audio recording uploaded onto Facebook of the first 25 minutes of the special. And finally, what I believe is the most intriguing, was a script that had surfaced on eBay. Through the script, we have an exact outline of what the special was like, including the various bits, acts, and opening and closing segments. It's unknown where the special is today, if it still exists. However, many believe it to be likely that if a copy survives, the owner of it may not be able to release it due to copyright concerns. But until a copy surfaces, we have no way of knowing. Number 7. Mr. Squiggle and Friends. Look at this funny looking character. Australia has proven to the world it's definitely unique, and its media is no different. A good example is this topic, Mr. Squiggle and Friends. It was an Australian puppet show that lasted for 40 years, starting on July 1st, 1959, all the way to July 7th, 1999. The show is classified as partially lost, with a good portion of episodes being found. The weirdest part about this is the length of the episodes, as some range from 5 minutes to completely 30-minute episodes. For example, the 1998 episode Stowaway is about 5 minutes long, but the 1989 episode Settlers Week is about 25 minutes long. The intro is banger though. The plot was interesting. Mr. Squiggle was a man from the moon who came to Earth to draw things. Though this makes me question so many things in the Mr. Squiggle's lore. Are there more out there like him on Earth? Is there a whole civilization on the moon? Is there a Mrs. Squiggle? These questions are never ending with the show. So this show was actually pretty popular. It's got an 8.2 out of 10 star rating on IMDb, so it can't be that bad. So with it having such a good review, where the heck is this thing? Or some of the episodes at least. Well, with the series starting so early, there were limited home media releases with some VHS tapes and DVDs here and there. I found a VHS tape on eBay for the show. It's like $17 plus $21 for shipping, but hey, it's out there. There's also a DVD from 1988, which was like $35 and $23 for shipping. Needless to say, these are pretty rare. Mr. Squiggle is actually still getting attention to this day. There were some dollar coins minted from 2019 for the 60th anniversary of Mr. Squiggle that can be found on eBay. So, that's pretty neat. Number 6. The Fun Day Puppet Show 9/11 episode. The Fun Day Puppet Show was an extremely long puppet show web series that started in 1999 and went all the way to 2017 with a total of 749 episodes. The show is usually seen as lighthearted and goofy and just overall lovable. However, the normal feeling of those episodes were interrupted on September 11th, 2001. The 9/11 terror attacks on the United States affected many lives and many families, and on that day, the cast of the Fun Day Puppet Show put together a broadcast to comfort those affected by the tragedy. It was meant to be reassuring and help those watching, and many who had seen the broadcast have been brought to tears due to how heartfelt and touching it was. After the broadcast, the episode was not available for download. There are no known copies of the broadcast to exist, as none are publicly available by the cast. If it is surviving with them, however, it's probably private. Video capture wasn't as common back in 2001, so it's unknown if anyone had recorded it, but it's not impossible. The website for the series says the episode wasn't recorded for archives, and under their show highlight section it reads, "Impromptu show put together to calm fears and help the community after the morning's events. Not recorded." If there is any sort of existing footage out there, it would be through a video capture software. However, I believe it to be lost for good. And if we're being honest, I think it should stay private out of respect for those involved. Number 5. Einstein Pals. This is a weird one. Einstein Pals was a planned short series dated back to 2007. However, it mysteriously was abandoned sometime between 2008 and 2009. The series was being produced by Disney and the Baby Einstein Company, and while some trailers are on the Wayback Machine and Internet Archive, the reason for it being abandoned is completely unknown. Heck, they even teased this series on some Baby Einstein DVDs. We can speculate that some of the series was actually completed, as when asked about the series, Kids 2 Inc., the new owner of the Baby Einstein company, has stated that they have no plans to release the series, so there's a possibility that at least some of it was finished. Due to various credits across various portfolios, we do know that the show was scripted and filmed, so why no release? We know that there is a minimum of 6 episodes, as a music composer has claimed to have composed music for those episodes. There was even a screen test that was found on Vimeo produced by a company that had been credited to work on the project. So, with little known about this small series, and an even more mysterious abandonment of the product, you have to make up some theories in your head. The article in the Lost Media Wiki about this claims that a possible reason for it being abandoned was a refund scandal in 2009. I won't go too much into this. There's an article from The Week about it that is basically parents saying that the show Baby Einstein is a show that is meant to be an electronic babysitter to keep your kids distracted, with parents saying that they notice no brain development in their child. Yeah, moving on. Number 4. Slinjeko. Slinjeko, which roughly translates to sunshine from Slovak, was a Czechoslovakian puppet show aimed at kids to help them learn, solve problems, and promote independent thinking. The show is most well known for its character Radofak Plachta, who at one point was considered one of the most terrifying characters for children's entertainment. Personally, I'm a fan of Radofak. He has a bizarre character design that I honestly can't look away from. It's really cool. Now, if you know your world history, then you're probably screaming, "Sewer reviewer, Czechoslovakia isn't a thing anymore!" And to that I say, good job, viewer! It's true that Czechoslovakia dissolved in 1993, however the show was produced before then, and actually aired during the Velvet Revolution, which led to the dissolution of the country. Many cite the Velvet Revolution as being a reason why so much of Slinjeko is lost, as the studio had to pack up their stuff and leave the area. Soon after, the country would become Slovakia and the Czech Republic. It's said that the series had well over 500 episodes produced for television, however the majority of them are lost. To my understanding, there was a group that was working on restoring some footage of the series, and they got a decent way through. A good portion of episodes were uploaded to a YouTube channel called Make Radofak Great Again. However, the majority of episodes are still lost. As far as I know, there hasn't been any home releases of Slinjeko, so it looks like the people looking for these episodes are relying on VHS tapes. If you're interested in more of the story, Blame It on Jorge has a good video on this subject, so go check it out. Number 3. The Adventures of Twizzle. November 13th, 1957, the first episode of The Adventures of Twizzle airs. Produced by AP Films, the show centers around Twizzle and his cat, Futso. Twizzle is unique with the ability to stretch and twist his arms and legs. The series follows Twizzle as he gets up to different shenanigans and conflicts and resolves them with Futso. Episodes were made in a small, cramped room with a tight schedule, and finishing touches to puppets were applied on the day of filming. There was a tight budget of 500 British pounds, however, to make the show more immersive, crew members applied different techniques not usually seen in puppet shows. Twizzle also has limbs that are like the width of plastic straw, so that's pretty neat. He's a funny looking guy. There were 52 episodes produced for the show, with the very first episode being the only episode found. Songs were written for the show by Roberta Leigh and had a composer, Barry Gray, do the musical backgrounds as she hummed a tune to him. All 52 episodes of the production have been named, so the footage of them is the only thing missing. There was actually an annual release for the series that had 18 Twizzle-influenced stories. It was released back in the 60s and is incredibly rare. So with everything being extremely lost, how did the pilot ever resurface? Well, it was actually released on a DVD as a bonus for the series Space Patrol, another series by Roberta Leigh. It had been found on a 16mm reel of film. Judging by the age of the film and the series, we're pretty lucky to get what we have now. But if there's any existing Twizzle content out there beside the pilot, a lot of people would love to see it. Until then, it remains lost. Number 2. Bear in the Big Blue House, Water, Water Everywhere. Bear in the Big Blue House is pretty well known. Airing on Playhouse Disney, the series revolved around our main character, Bear, solving problems and learning lessons with other characters. The first episode aired on October 20th, 1997, with the series concluding on April 28th, 2006. So, if you're a Bear in the Big Blue House fan, then you may know that Water, Water Everywhere was the second episode of the series. However, it was a different episode than the pitch pilot. Screenshots of the pilot show this, as things like set design and even the episode's title card font are different. The pilot would actually be finished on April 23rd, 1997, months before the first episode of the series would air. David Gumpel, I really hope I'm saying that right, a man credited with various Muppet productions, had featured a clip of the pilot in his 2006 director's reel. It showed off the original look at the kitchen, Pip and Pop's early pilot designs, and a pilot version for the song Need a Little Help Today. It should be said that the original director's reel for David Gumpel is no longer online since the domain page has changed. So, lost media within lost media. Fun! The actor for Bear, Noel McNeil, says that the pilot episode isn't very different from the official episode, so the few differences between the pilot and the actual episode aren't too enormous. As for wherever this pilot pitch may be, it's either with Disney themselves in some sort of archive, or it's with David Gumpel since he used it in the director's reel. Number 1. Pinwheel. I'll admit, Pinwheel was a bit before my time. I didn't get to grow up with some of the weird memories that came with it, like Clockman, however, many others did. Pinwheel was a show that functioned quite similarly to Sesame Street, with human characters and puppet characters living together inside of a big house. Humans interact with the puppets and such, and they teach lessons and, all that fun stuff. Pinwheel had aired on Nickelodeon and was in production up until 1984, with reruns going until 1990. Now, despite such a long period of time on television, Pinwheel is near impossible to find. With 260 episodes in total across the entire series, only about 10 hours of footage from the show has been found. Pinwheel only saw one home media release, which was the Pinwheel Songbook VHS. All other forms of home media releases are usually just compilation DVDs or VHS tapes by those who had recorded any episodes. As of today, Pinwheel is still a Nickelodeon property, and Nickelodeon still acknowledges its existence today. However, it's very, very, very unlikely that Pinwheel will ever see a public release ever again. For anyone watching this who may be familiar with Pinwheel and has some sort of homemade compilation of episodes, feel free to reach out. Pinwheel is in high demand for many who grew up with the series. Plus, I don't think it'd hurt if I watched one episode. There we go, 10 pieces of lost puppetry media. I attempted to make this list pretty diverse, with things that a lot of people recognize, and things that are way more obscure than others. It goes without saying that all of these hold value, and we should treat and preserve all media with that in mind. Sure, the majority of these things on the list are things that I didn't grow up with, however, I still believe that they should be found because they hold value to a specific audience. I'd honestly love to sit down and watch some of this stuff too. It seems like fun. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, then leave a like and tell me your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in seeing more of my content, consider subscribing, it's free, and you can click that bell icon to be notified of my next upload. You can also follow me on my social media, which can be found in the description below. As always guys, it's been a blast, and I will see you all next time. Peace!